Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have an exciting guest. I have the CEO of GreenBank Capital with me, and we're going to be giving a bit of a background on GreenBank and just what it's all about. So thanks so much, David, for coming on.
Landon, my pleasure. It's very, very nice to meet you.
You too. All right, so can you just give a rough brief of GreenBank Capital and what it's all about?
We're a very innovative merchant bank. We're obviously, we have one foot in the United States and one foot in Europe. As you are well aware from the video you did before, we are making some extremely interesting investments. And from an investment perspective, we really do two things. We will invest in solid cash flowing companies, which give us an element of stability. But more excitingly, we will invest in exponential growth companies and we'll talk about a few of those that really are going to bring significant returns to our investors.
Yeah. And do you want to just talk about yourself and what your background kind of is and just a little bit about the management team behind GreenBank?
Absolutely. I've already figured out that Landon is a lot younger than I am, and he has figured out the reverse. But I have built disruptive technology companies all my career. I'm originally British. I came over to Cornell University to do my MBA, and I never made it back. But I've spent my career building disruptive technology companies. I actually sold one to Microsoft. I had one that failed, Landon, and that's why I have no hair on my head where you do. I then changed gears and ran a private investment bank for 10 years, which was very successful. We grew it into one of the largest investment banks in the southwest of the United States. And today I run GreenBank Capital. I'm the CEO of GreenBank Capital, which is a merchant bank, as I mentioned, where we're based. And we've got a very good team. Mark Wettrich is actually the son of the founder, who regrettably passed away unexpectedly a couple of years ago. And Mark is based in Dallas in Texas. In fact, I'm talking to you from New York City as we chat now. And then we have a very significant board with some very good people who advise us. And of course, we have our partner team in the UK as well.
Yeah. So a really nice, strong background. And thanks so much for that. So do you want to just dive into some of the investments that you guys have? And I mean, you can talk about the recent news of the SX deal that you actually just announced. And that was just a few days ago. And that's pretty substantial, actually. So if you want to talk about that.
I'd be delighted to. The SX deal that Landon's just referred to is St. George's Eco Mining, which they have done extremely well recently. They've raised a significant amount of money, and certainly the markets are very well aware of them, and they're doing well. We have made an investment in St. George's. They indeed are making an investment in GreenBank Capital. And there are a variety of ways in which we're partnering together. St. George's Eco Mining is a very green mining company.
No, yeah, and it's so funny because that's actually another company that I really, really like. And so as soon as I saw that you guys had got into that, I was like, no way. I was like, this management team is good. If they like that company and I like that company, and something's going on here, and there's some smart people. And so that's really big. Do you also want to talk about OBIT and Freeway token?
I do. And I'll also start by just making sure we have the pronunciation of one company correctly. You spent a good amount of time talking about Staminia. And I know, and I think a lot of people probably stumble over the name Landon. So let me just give everybody a crib for where it came from. It is a combination of stamina and pioneer, and that's where the name Staminia came from. So and indeed it is one of the executives there who, like you, has a sports background and liked the idea of stamina and pioneering. So that's the name of the company. We have a 19% investment in Stamineer, and Landon in a previous video did an extremely good job of outlining the 19% we own, and talked about the fact that we have an option to purchase the remaining ownership, so that we will own 100% of Stamineer. Stamineer has made a number of investments, including buying 400 million tokens, Freeway tokens, from with a company called Orbit. Orbit is changing the whole landscape for financial investing. And when you use the Orbit platform to purchase, given we're talking about electric cars, let's talk about Tesla, and you wish to purchase some Tesla shares, what you will actually do is purchase synthetic shares. Orbit, of course, are going to buy the Tesla shares, but the wonderful thing is that the actual fees that are charged, Orbit are taking 80% of those fees and plowing it back into the platform, buying additional shares. So as you sit there with your 100 Tesla shares, for example, as other people come along and buy Tesla shares, you're going to see your ownership in Tesla grow incrementally, because they're going to be using 80% of those trading fees. The Freeway tokens come into play because if you are going to use Orbit to invest, Orbit are going to say you need to match $1 of your investment with 25 cents worth of Freeway tokens. So we have purchased 400 million Freeway tokens. I know that Landon has said, gosh, do you really need to purchase Freeway tokens? Because just go buy GreenBank Capital shares, which was very clever of you, Landon. The fact of the matter is, yes, you do need to purchase Freeway tokens for yourself, because they are going to be your passport towards investing in Orbit. And if you invest in Orbit and you get not only the appreciation in the stock, you also get the multiplier effect, the network effect, as Orbit call it, of seeing the actual number of shares you have grow. It truly is a revolutionary way of investing. We're extremely excited to be partnered with Orbit, and candidly, we're looking at a number of avenues where the two companies can partner together.
Yeah, I think that's Orbit is having a really, really big and revolutionary change in the financial space and with brokers. I mean, I think that it would make sense. I'm not sure if they're going to be worldwide or how the whole rollout is going to be, but if they could become one of like the world's kind of used broker, I think that makes total sense. And the fact that they give back 80% of the commissions, it's almost like you're getting like a dividend for holding a stock. And I mean, if you can find one that then starts getting super bought up, then you're going to start adding shares and you're just sitting on it. And so I think it's really, really great. And especially for long-term investors for that aspect as well.
You understand it perfectly, Landon. That's exactly the model. And as you can imagine, Orbit have some very ambitious goals and will be expanding in a variety of different areas. Right now, as far as the investment we made in those Freeway tokens, as you pointed out, that has gone up 4 or 5-fold and is now worth over $5 million.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's crazy, and it's most likely going to go a lot higher.
I think you can be safe in saying that, and as I don't work for Orbit, I'm sure I'm safe in making a comment like that.
Yeah. Also, do you want to talk about the land that is able to be bought, the 28 acres that's by the airport, that's the second largest airport in England?
It is indeed, and as I was growing up in the UK, for a while I lived in Reigate in Surrey, which was close by, but that was back in the 1970s, and at that point Gatwick was just a tiny airport. A lot has changed since the 1970s. Before I talk about the value of that land, let me just make a comment, because this is important. Landon has pointed out the sort of net asset value that is being built in GreenBank Capital. And he has absolutely right. I cannot endorse his mathematics because I'm not allowed to do that as a CEO of a public company. But indeed, directionally, Landon's correct. And it's been very disappointing for me that the markets have not recognized what we're building at GreenBank Capital. Just this week, several videos have come out, and all of a sudden our trading volumes are through the roof. We traded over 4 million shares on Monday, and we traded over 3 million shares on Tuesday, and our price of our stock finished last night at 89 cents a share. When Landon last week was putting out his video, it was 41 cents a share. So we are beginning to see a dawning of the recognition by the markets of what GreenBank Capital really has. To that end, we have an option on land at Gatwick Airport. 13 acres of our land is surrounded by an area that of 64 acres that has actually received a certain zoning which has improved the value of that land. 8 acres of that land sold for £3 million per acre recently. Now, that's indicative, therefore, because we're surrounded by that land. We are applying to get exactly the same zoning, and we have 13 acres. Well, you know, if 3 million is a reasonable price for that land, you can run the math, as Landon did in a previous video, and all of a sudden you start looking at the value of this land minus a small option price that we would have to pay to exercise the option, and you're talking about numbers that dwarf GreenBank Capital's current market cap. So, and they're very, very real investments where I can't say it is worth X, but I can certainly point to the dynamics that say if it were worth 3 million, and if we got the same zoning, which I suppose is likely, then you can extrapolate from there and run the math. So that is the land we have at Gatwick, and we are in the process of actually working to rezone it.
Nice, yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, so just to clarify, it's actually 13 acres.
We have 2 parcels of land, a 15-acre parcel and a 13-acre parcel, and actually they're on opposite sides of the airport. The one where I can point conclusively to the £3 million per acre, because that sale actually took place. It's at 13 of our acres. But if you wished to say, well, David, isn't the other 15 likely to be similar? Mm. I haven't been to Gatwick Airport in ages, so I can't really, tell you conclusively. But yeah. Yes, that's why we've got the option on the land.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And when does the option expire? Like, when would be the last time that you could buy it?
It is something like 3 years from now.
Okay.
I don't have the date off the top of my head, Landon, but I believe in the press release that we put out, we were very specific about the option expiration date, and I'm pretty sure it was in 2024. Okay.
Yeah, and then so do you want to just talk about when we could possibly see the closing? Because I saw the letter of intent for Staminier. So do you want to just touch on that if you can?
You did a very nice job, again, in your previous video, basically running an analysis that said, from your perspective, you thought you were 99% sure we would close on the option to buy the rest of Staminier. So let's just sort of interrogate that a little bit. First of all, we've already talked about the value of the investments that Staminier has made. Well, those investments look like they are worth acquiring from a GreenBank Capital perspective. Number 2, at our last annual general meeting, our shareholders voted 99.99%, and I'm quoting from, again, from another press release. They voted 99.99% to consummate the balance of the Stamineer acquisition. The reason it has not taken place so far is company specific issues. Certain things within the company that we are managing, none of them bad, but just organizing the timing as we wish to frankly, to our advantage. Yeah. Within Stamineer and within GreenBank Capital, we have extended the option. I believe it's twice, it might even be 3 times. So I think you can also view from that, there's a relative commitment to do it. However, there has been no public announcement about actually us concluding it. And as the CEO of the company, I have to say to you, no decision has yet been made.
Okay, yeah. And when is the next time that we could have an announcement? I believe, was it around April 16th?
Oh, are you asking when the current option expires?
Yeah.
The date is April the 14th.
April the 14th. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so do you want to just talk about some of your other investments that you have as well?
Well, one of the ones, in fact, you've mentioned it, is P&H Motorcycles, which is in the UK. And again, this is an investment that Stamineer made. They are the largest distributor of motorcycles in the south of England. Paul Searle, who is the CEO, has actually taken most of his cash out in terms of selling the company to us in GreenBank Capital stock, and has made some very, very strong comments about how confident he is in where GreenBank Capital is going. And that's why, as he put it, he has decided to, in selling his life's work, take a significant portion of GreenBank Capital stock in compensation. I have not had the chance to meet Mr. Searle because of COVID, of course, but I look forward to that in the future. The beauty of this transaction is we are intent on transitioning the dealership into electric motorcycles, into the distribution of electric motorcycles. We see massive growth in that market, and of course, we're intent upon becoming the #1 distributor in the UK.
And when could we see that change over into distributing EV motorcycles?
I can't comment on that right now.
Okay.
Because I have not had a recent conversation on the subject, but that's the direction we're going in. And of course, Landon, with COVID, it has put a number of initiatives on hold, which we wish, of course, it hadn't. I mean, the UK is very locked down at the moment, though, kudos to the UK with the number of jabs that have occurred, and also with the timetable they've laid out for reopening. But we will have some announcements on that in the near future, Landon.
Okay. And so currently the run rate revenue for P&H motorcycles is about 20 million a year. Has that been growing year over year?
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Yeah. But it's the last few years have been leveling, but 20 million a year is its run rate right now.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Another thing that I wanted to touch on is just the share structure and how much is owned by insiders and things like that. So if you want to just talk about what percent of the float is being held by insiders.
I would love to do that. I will make one further comment, which I think is useful as well on the Stamineer and your previous thing first. I know you ran a dilution when we acquire Stamineer. Just make sure your investors bear in mind, or your readership bears in mind, that what we actually will be paying for when we complete that transaction is convertible debt. And the actual conversion of that debt into shares is at a point further down the road.
Okay.
GreenBank Capital was started by Danny Wettrich, and Danny Wettrich, as I mentioned, passed away unexpectedly a few years ago. A significant portion of the company is owned by the Wettrich family. Prior to the 19% of Stamina that we purchased, it was in the order of 70% of the company. I am a small shareholder in the sense I have about 5% of the company. And that is post the Stamina acquisition of 19%, because at that point we went from 25 million shares approximately to 50 million shares. So today you're looking at maybe, and this is just math off the top of my head, you're looking at probably 35%, in the Wettrich family, and the rest of it is spread across both Stamina and executives, and of course the general ownership.
Okay, so roughly right now, I didn't look at exactly what percent that would be of Stamina owning of GreenBank right now in shares, but would you say that roughly it would be close to pretty much like 50% is being held by either insiders or executives in Stamina?
If you're asking how much of GreenBank do the Stamina shareholders own, that was released in a press release, and indeed it is almost. It's not 50%. It's under 50%, but it is approaching that. It's somewhere between, I think, 45 and 50.
Okay, yeah. So that's a really tight float actually right now. So that only leaves 25 million shares outstanding for publicly traded. And I mean, I bet some of those are also really tightly held from family and friends and other people who have found GreenBank. So that's really great to see.
We will see the float and the tradable shares, I'm sure, grow quite significantly over the next few years. And as I said, look at the trading that's been going on Monday or Tuesday. I mean, we are not used to seeing multiple millions of shares trade on a daily basis. It's the first time GreenBank Capital has reached that, and I'm sure we will be moving much higher than that.
No, no, it's honestly crazy, but it's finally being noticed, which is great. And since this volume has come in, it's got a lot more eyes, and it's going to continue to have a lot more eyes, and people are going to watch this and realize that there's some really big value here as well.
Well, let me say this very clearly. The management team and myself, we absolutely think we are horribly undervalued. But I think most management teams will say that. It's up to investors to actually do the homework and look at what we're investing in, much as you are doing, and then make decisions for themselves.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly.
Landon, I have thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you, and I would very much like to do so again. Perhaps in 6 months we can have a little bit of a review of how things have gone at GreenBank Capital.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks so much, David.
You're very welcome. Have a good day.